Hey guys, Rob at Legion Studios here today. We're going to be doing a basic series instructional video on Happy Seppuku's base texture theme packs. Now the one we're using today are the narrow wood planks from their best sellers, top sellers pack, which is available on our legionsgames.com website. Here are some samples that I put together that I did the other night. They worked out really well. These are for some Wild West Exodus project I'm working on. Now for this video, we are going to be using the Neatite blue and yellow epoxy putty. Now you can use Milliput or you can use the Procreate or really any type of sculpting putty or clay or anything will work. The first step is to cut off the blue and the green sections in equal parts, and we're going to knead it together so it turns to the shade of the green in the video here, and then it'll be ready to work with. I really recommend using water. Warm water works really well for keeping this from sticking to your hands. And what we're going to do here, this is the bases. The kind with the lip bases worked really well because it gives a little of an edge to grab to. You're just going to take a little bit of the epoxy putty and we're going to spread it around with our fingers. And as thin as possible. You don't want to be too thin that it's below the level of the beveled edge if you're using these type of bases. And again, keep your fingers wet so that you don't get fingerprints. And even if you do, you can spread them out. Now I'm using a tool from Speedball, a baler. It's used for inking and other artistic projects. You can buy this at an art supply store. And I just spread this out really thin. You don't really have to use this. You can use your fingers to spread this out. Now these bases can show a little bit of a indentation just because of the way they're designed. So just take a little bit of the putty again and just place it in and spread it around again and blend it. And again with the water, these type of resin putties, epoxy putties work really well and to hide the fingerprints and to smooth them out. So then I just take the baler again, or you can use any sort of flat piece of plastic or your fingers and smooth this out again and make it a nice texture to work with, good and clean and smooth. The next step is we are going to take a knife, an X-Acto knife, and we're going to trim the edges up. Do as much cleaning as possible in this step. You want it to be, if it does dry, you can still clean it up, but it is easier to work with while it still hasn't cured. At this point, we're ready to press, to do the imprint. So what works really well at this point is to get our mold. And I use a Instaset accelerator. The nice thing about the accelerators, you can use Zappa-Gap. We have our own brand that's done by Bob Smith Industries. It works as a nice lubricant that doesn't leave a residue, which is nice because you don't want to have to clean up like petroleum jellies and things like that to keep this from sticking. You have to use something on here. Water really doesn't quite do it. It really will stick back to the mold and misshape when you take it off. So just pull gently up, and as you can see, we have our imprint, and we are ready to go to the next step, which is cleanup. And what I do here is I grab back to my my tools, my sculpting tools, and we want to add a little bit of detail to this. So what I've done is I want to put a little bit of where nails have been used to hammer down the floorboards. Again, this is going to be used for an Old West game, Wild West Exodus, that we're painting up a demo here for the store so that we can maybe carry this line. You also want to go in, you can use an X-Acto knife, and I like to put in some additional, make the planks a little bit shorter just to give some character to the base. And this stuff is very easy to work with. And again, keep your tools wet so it doesn't stick. Another thing you can do with the X-Acto knife is I like to make the depth of the boards and the detail a little bit more shown so that inks and paints really grip to it better and washes just to give a little more depth in the base itself. And there's a few places that sometimes the press the press mold does not indent, so you sometimes have to go in and freehand in a little bit of details, but not that much. I was actually pretty impressed on how this worked out. Again, it's important to remember to keep your tools wet. If you try to use any sort of sculpting tool, or you use any knife or even your fingers on this, you're going to stick to the epoxy, so, and leave a fingerprint or mess it up. So you want to be really careful on making sure that you keep your tools wet. And again, we're just putting a few more details in here, making the lines a little bit more pronounced. And again, I like to do this so that the washes and the paints have a little bit to grab to. At this point, the base is complete, and we just need to let this cure for, overnight is pretty much good, 8 to 10 hours. And this is a really great base for an Old West theme. So now that the base is finished, I just want to review some of the tools and products we use to create this base in this video. First, of course, is the Happy Seppuku Modelworks base texture stamps. They come in theme packs. I believe there's approximately 10 or 12 of the theme packs available, and you can check them out in our e-store at legionsgames.com and see what ones may fit what you're looking for a project. The other tools you're going to need are some green stuff. I recommend the green stuff. It's just a good product to work with, and it's readily available. Milliput will work. It's kind of hard to find, and it does get a little softer and a little more messy to work with. It's a good product as well, but I think the green stuff is probably the best for this project, or any sort of epoxy putty works great. You're going to want some sculpting tools. X-Acto knife is a bare minimum on that, and I would definitely pick up some. If you use super glue, it's a good thing to have anyway, but some accelerant. It's the perfect lubricant for the mold. Without it, your green stuff and your epoxy resin putty is going to stick to the mold and be very difficult to work with. So that is necessary. And again, some water to just make sure your tools and your fingers are always wet when working with the green stuff. So guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. This is actually the first of hopefully many videos that we do at legionstudios.com. So I really hope that you visit us and subscribe and keep checking us out, because I've got a lot of great ideas for terrain, painting tutorials, historic, fantasy, sci-fi, the gamut. So just make sure you check us out, and thanks for visiting. Talk to you soon. Bye.